guys.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Wrestling Draft.
It's me, it's DH. Anyway, welcome to the Wrestling Draft. I'm David Hockney, not joined by Scott McLeod this week. He's feeling a little under the weather, but nonetheless, the show will continue, and everyone pray that he recovers from the 44th strain of COVID that's been going around as of late. So get well soon, Scott, and we'll see you again, hopefully sooner rather than later. But we're not here to talk about my co-host's physical health today. We're going to be talking about the scores from the Wrestling Draft, and this is following the fallout from NXT Heatwave. So it's a very heavy NXT top scoring this week. So Sol Ruka with 13 points in third place, retaining the Speed Championship against the very game Jada Parker. It was supposed to be against Lainey Reed, but obviously Lainey Reed ruled out under medical grounds. So we got a Jada Parker appearance who also picked up 6 points this week, just to throw her name in the pot. Sol Ruka, obviously, with another title retention, a choice between the Women's North American title and the Speed title, which is now being counted as part of NXT. So good result for Sol Ruka. She's been pretty quiet all season long, but now that the title's been defended, it gets her off the board. Second place, Ethan Page with a retention over Tavion Heights, defending the men's North American Championship. A great result for Ethan Page. He's now the top scorer on the West End Country Club with 38 points overall, not without, without the captaincy applied. The captaincy still firmly on Bliss and Charlotte. So I think I'm going to personally take a lesson from that about, where the captaincy should have gone in that front. Possibly could shake things up a little bit, but he does have a defense against Mustafa Ali of TNA in the next big NXT event, but we'll get to that in just a moment. But our top scorer of the week, and I never thought I'd say this, JC Jane, 16 points this week, successfully retaining the Women's Championship against Fallon Henley. So JC Jane, now JP's top scorer of his team thus far, scoring a total of 37, and despite that, JP's still sitting at the bottom of the table because I believe his captain is on Paul Heyman at the moment, who's only on 28 appearance points. So maybe a bit of a hiccup on JP's part with the captaincy as well. It just goes to show, you can have the best team in the world, but if you don't pick the right captain, you could easily fall behind, and it's pretty evident what's happening here. So, but the next big event coming up is NXT TNA Showdown. I nearly said Invasion, but it has had the name change for a particular reason. But we'll not get into that. We're not political here. We're all about facts, statistics, and the just keeping an eye on what to expect. And we'll cover the NXT TNA Showdown show in just a bit, see who can benefit some points there. But we'll go into our leaderboard for the Premier League. So 14th place, he had the top scorer this week with JC Jane, but still on 119 points overall, it's JP with El Grande Acos. And then on 131 points, it's myself with the West End Country Club. in 13th. Tied for 11th, Gary Kernahan and Andy Mitchell, both on 136. It's a hell of a drop for Gary's team. He was in the top half of the table for quite a while, but he's just plummeted down the card by this point. 10th place, it's Robert fucking Shaw and the Draft Bastards on 140 and a half. 1 point ahead of him, it's Scott McLeod. Yeet dreams are made of these. And then tied for 7th, it's Matt Smith and Grant McRobbie. Iguana Dance with Somebody and AI No Better Than You on 142 points. So it's basically we're looking at an 11-point difference between 7th and 13th, which is one good week of scoring. And the race of this table is very, very tight at the minute. But as we go into our top 6, it gets even closer. So we have the GOAT David Campbell with Team GOAT 154, Dan Axel Jameson with the Essex Elite in 5th place on 155, Alan Lucas 157.5, 55 and counting. And then third, we have Tom Brock with I Promise I Don't Like That Other Brock Either on 158. So 4 points separating third and 6th. It's all to play for in this league. I don't care how close the scoring is. Everybody is still fair game at this point. But our top 2 of the week seems to be the running gag for this season. This is the 2-horse race. Gary Morris, it's tsunami time on 174. And Stephen Wilson, despite Obafemi shockingly losing the NXT title at Heatwave, he still maintains the top spot, but only just with 176. It's been a tough week for Stephen's team. You know, Obafemi looked like he was going to be steamrolling the competition throughout, but it looks like he could potentially be going to the main roster going forward. So probably a wise decision that he didn't put the captaincy on him at this stage. But if he does end up on the main roster sooner rather than later, I think, you know, Obafemi might still have a chance to be Stephen's captain somewhere down the line. But we'll go now into the Listeners League, and it's another back and forth competition in some aspects. So in 5th place, we have Gordon with I'm Not Too Fussed on 185. 4th place, Ross Johnson with Headlocks and H on 889.5. Sam with the Dallas Cowboys on 194. Shooting up the table this week is Ross Brady with the Big Ross Man on 212.5, but still top of the table. My pick to win the People's Listeners League champion so far. It's Big Alan Laurie, Draft Balls 3, the search for Draft Balls 2 on 224. And I think it's worth mentioning for Big Alan's team that one of his picks is John Moxley, who at the moment is looking very impressive in the top scoring section of our table. So Moxley is currently our top scorer of the season overall without the captaincy applied on 46. And I think that large in part comes down to his 24 TV appearances, 8 TV wins non-title, and 3 pay-per-view appearances, along with 1 pay-per-view win, which was non-title as well. So John Moxley being a bit of a silent big name when all the round 1 picks were taken off the bat. So yeah, I think the John Moxley pick is certainly the MVP of this draft so far. And just trying to look through the Premier League, I believe it's I'm just trying to find who's got. Oh yeah, it's Robert fucking Shaw who has Moxley, and so basically Moxley now has more points than Cody Rhodes does with the captaincy applied on Robert's team, which is really quite something to behold. But Robert's team has suffered a bit of a setback. Obviously, Jade Cargill involved in the triple threat women's championship match on SmackDown. Jade Cargill suffering a very nasty cut on her head, and it's required stitches to close. Looks like she's going to be out for a couple of weeks while she recovers. So get well soon, Jade. But unfortunately, Robert, it's an unfortunate surprise in your instance. And as we all know, life is full of surprises. But that's plenty. So we'll round off this week's episode, short and sweet, with a little preview of TNA Showdown happening on October 7th, this coming Tuesday. So at the moment, 4 matches have been announced. So we have Ethan Page of my team, the West End Country Club, defending the NXT North American Championship against Mustafa Ali. 2 years since Mustafa Ali was guaranteed was promised a North American title match against Dominic Mysterio, but then was subsequently released as a result. So it's been 2 years in the making for Mustafa, and I mean, I hope he doesn't win the title, but I think there's a potentially a sneaking suspicion we could see a bit of crossed wires when it comes to, if it's NXT talent holding TNA titles. Maybe we'll get to see some TNA talent holding some NXT titles at some point, and I really hope that that isn't the case with Ethan Page. But what we could see though is it could be the chance that we see a TNA talent holding the NXT Tag Team Championship, because we have the Hardys versus Dark State in a winner takes all match for both tag team championships, and everyone is banned from ringside. So it's going to be 2-on-2, and it looks like representing Dark State, it's going to be Dion Lennox and Osiris Griffin. This could be a very interesting one. Maybe the Hardys could scoop up the NXT tag titles. I believe it's a tag championships that they've yet to win in the wrestling industry. And let me tell you, I think if they did that, it would cement them as arguably the greatest tag team of all time across any promotion. So I think that's going to be a one to watch for sure. But on top of that, we also have two Survivor Series-esque tag team matches. So it's 4-on-4 for men's and women's teams. So for the women's teams, we have from Team NXT, it's our top scorer of this week, JC Jane. Then we have Jada Parker, Sol Ruka, and Lola Vice. Some representation there from across multiple teams, including JP, myself, Alan Lucas, and if I can remember if Lola Vice has been drafted. I believe she has, but I actually think she's undrafted, surprisingly enough. But correct me if I'm wrong, Premier's League guys listening back to this. But yeah, on the other side, we have Team TNA. We have NXT's Kalani Jordan holding the TNA Knockouts Championship now, which is sounds very ass backwards when you think about it. So yeah, she's teaming with the Inspiration, and I know the GOAT David Campbell's going to be cheering like a maniac, knowing that his beloved Jesse and Cassie are back together on TV on WWE programming, and they're also teaming up with Mara Sade. I believe that's how it's pronounced. Uh, the former Jakara Jackson, no less. So that's a bit of a throwback for you there. And for the men's team, we've got Team NXT of Ricky Saints, the new NXT champion, Javon Evans, Miles Bourne, and Trick Williams, who is the current TNA champion. Again, ass backwards a little bit, but we'll go with it. And against Team TNA is Mike Santana, Frankie Kazarian, Moose, and Leon Slater. So Ricky Saints, obviously the new NXT champion, Trick Williams, the TNA champion. Some representation there, but not a lot. I think it's mostly on the Team NXT for the women's side that seems to be where the most representation lies here. So big opportunity for points to be had here. But in the rules of an elimination match, it's winning team gets the point, and every pinfall that your pick makes counts as points as well. So Stephen, correct me if I'm wrong on that one, but it's been a while since I've covered traditional Survivor Series tag team matches on this show. But yeah, very stacked show nonetheless. And having talked about, the previous impact of NXT in this wrestling draft so far, I think it's safe to say we're in for a very, very electric couple of weeks. And then In a couple of weeks as well, we've also got Crown Jewel in Australia to look forward to. So we've got Cody Rhodes versus Seth Rollins for the Crown Jewel Championship. We've got Stephanie Vaquer versus Tiffany Stratton for the Women's Crown Jewel Championship. And we've also got Team Rio, Rhea Ripley and Io Sky going up against the Kabuki Warriors. So, but we'll discuss that in a bit more detail as the weeks go on. But that's going to do it for us here on this week's episode of the Wrestling Draft. I've done solo shows before in past seasons, so if you want to have a listen to them, you can check back on our back catalog, Spotify, iTunes, any good podcasting site you work with. Follow us on our socials as well at the Wrestling Draft. If you want to get involved with our Listeners League in a future season, just be sure to reach out to us at any point, and we'll make sure you get involved because it's a good laugh. It gets the conversation flowing about different promotions programmings, and it can really hit you with a bunch of surprises when you least expect it. It's great banter. It's a little bit of competition, and you can walk away with some bragging rights sooner rather than later. But anyway, I've been David Hockney, and hopefully I'll be joined by somebody next week, whether it's Scott, whether it's a guest. I won't be on my own next time. So until next time, see ya.